Hello everyone and you're welcome. In this lesson, we're going to learn about classes and objects in Unity. And basically, these are the most powerful things you can use if you want to actually be an expert programmer or scripter using Unity. So let's go ahead and understand what classes and objects are. Now, everything in Unity is actually an object. Like our lights is an object, our directional light is an object, our cube is an object, the floor we created is an object, our main camera is an object, because they all have attributes and behaviors we can change and modify when we look at the inspector. But that's just for definition. So basically, a class itself is a complex data type that consists of variables, and we call these variables properties, and functions called methods. So you can think about a class such as like a template or a mini recipe that you can use to create instances of that class. Each time you create an instance of a class, it becomes an object. Now, to create an instance, a constructor is used using the new keyword. So all of that is talk. Let's just see that in action, so we can understand what a class is and see how we can have access to those classes. Now, Unity uses heavily a lot of classes and a lot of properties, constructors, functions, and methods. So let's go ahead and see them. So the first thing I would like you to do is to actually let's go ahead and create a script. So let's go to our project folder and make sure we're selecting our scripts folder. In case you don't see it like that, I'm using a one column layout. I'll just switch it to a default 2-column layout, and I'll open my scripts folder and I'll right click and go to create C# script, and I'll just say call that working underscore with underscore classes, just like that. And I'm just going to enter that, and let's quickly create that, open up that C# script, and I'm going to reload everything right now. Now let's remember that our script gives us access to all the classes that are built into Unity. So whenever we say using Unity Engine, it means we're actually importing a lot of these classes into this namespace right here. So for instance, we've used a vector tree, which is part of the struct, and a struct is a lightweight class. Basically, a struct is like a class, but it uses less memory. So for instance, let's look at the vector tree class. So to create a vector tree class, what we're going to first call is the name. So let's say vector3, and then we can create an object. So let's just call that obj underscore v, just like that. So now we have that vector tree class, which we've created an object called obj underscore v. To use that class, what we're going to say is obj underscore v is going to be equal to new vector tree, and we can pass in the arguments for our vector tree. Basically, I can say a 0f, a 20f, and then I can say a 10f. So now what we've done right here, this is the class called vector tree, and we've created an instance obj underscore v using the new constructor to create an instance of this class. So let's go ahead and jump back to Unity and look at something very important. So whenever you click on any game object within your scene, for instance, if I go to the transform and I click this question mark, it should open up the Unity reference or Unity documentation for me, and I can actually go to that documentation and read up on that information. So now we're on the Unity documentation page. What we're going to do is to look at the scripting API. So now when we're on the scripting API, if we actually look at Unity Engine right here, this is the same reference we have right here called Unity Engine. So let's go ahead and open that up and see the classes we have underneath the Unity Engine. So once I click the Unity Engine, I'm just going to scroll down and search for classes. So now I have these classes right here. And for these classes, I'll just go ahead and look for vector tree. So it's actually arranged alphabetically. So if I just scroll down to where I can find V, there it is, a vector tree, and I'll click on that vector tree. Now this gives us a brief and a much more detailed explanation to what that class is. So now we have that struct in Unity Engine, and remember, a struct is simply a lightweight class, and a struct is designed in such a way that it's much more memory efficient than using a full-blown class. So if you have a short program or you want to build an application and you're thinking about memory, you could just use a struct. So here are the static properties. Now a property is a value you can assign when you actually instantiate your object, and we can actually look at that constructor, and this creates a new vector tree, a vector with given XYZ components. Now what we did is a shorthand method. Let's go ahead and see another way to create a vector tree directly. So here we're going to say a vector 3, and we're going to call that our vect, and we're going to say it's equal to a new vector 3, and we can pass in that float x, y, and z arguments. Here I'll just pass in 0f, 0f, and 0f. Now remember, vector trees are heavily used throughout Unity, especially when you want to work with the transform of a game object. So such as this, if I open up the transform, you can see we have 3 values for x, y, and z positions. These actually represents 3 values, and we can look at that as a vector tree for our transform. So let's go ahead and jump back into the Unity manual again and look at that property. So now we can see the static methods. We have some public methods, and also we have some of those operators we can assign and work with a vector tree. Let's go ahead and look for another class called the input class. So rather than walk through right here where I keep scrolling, I could just jump right here and type in input and just press the return key, so I can actually see that interface into the input system. So the input is a class in Unity Engine. So simply, if we go back to our C# script and I just type in input, we should actually see this symbol that tells us this is a class in Unity Engine right here, and this is an interface into our input system. And our input has a method called the getAxis. Let's go ahead and jump right here. It says it has a function called the getAxis. So if we go ahead and click on the getAxis, we can see this is a float getAxis method, and it actually returns a float data type. So we can simply go right here and say input.getAxis, and we can also type in that axis name. Here I'm just going to type in vertical, just like that. And this is a float. So what this simply means, if I store a value, let's say I create a variable called value right here, I need to specify that it's a float value. So this is the data type that the input.getAxis will store, right? So basically that's it. So it says right here float. So if I'm going to create a variable to store hold a reference to my input, I'm going to use a float value. So that's a very brief example on what the a class is, and then the objects that come within that class, and we can see we have these properties. Again, let's go ahead and search for the transform. Now a transform is a very important class because every game object must have a transform. So if I go to my scene and I go to game object and I create an empty game object and I just call that empty, what I'm simply going to see on my empty game object right here, which is just empty game object we just created, is that it has a transform property that's attached to that game object. So every game object in your scene has a transform, because you can use the transform to either scale, move, or rotate that game object. So let's go ahead and look at the transform class. So it inherits from component, and these are the properties that our transform class have. Remember, properties, we can set values to properties, right? And it has some inherited members and public methods. So each time we look at these methods, we can actually click them and it'll give us a description of what that property does, and we can even see a first-hand example of that property. So for instance, if we look at the property of our transform class, you can see that we actually have a local position and a local rotation and a local scale, and it gives us a description of that scale. So let's go ahead and see how we can use the transform dot local scale. Again, if we click on that, we can actually see an example of how we can set that transforms local scale. So let's go ahead and see how we can jump into Unity and just look at a basic example. So right here, if I want to change the local scale of my game object, I'll first go to the transform class. So I'm just going to say transform dot local scale, and if I want, I can set that to a new vector 3, and then we'll pass in the scale for the x-axis. So I'm just going to say 20.0f, and then I'll pass in 0f for the y and 0f for the z-axis. So basically, I've set this my local scale property to a new vector 3, and this should move my game object to a position of 20 units when I start that game object. So to go ahead and demonstrate that, let's go ahead and comment out all these properties that we've created, and let's go ahead and just save this. And just when we have working with classes, let's go ahead and assign the script to our game object we just created right now, the empty game object. So I'm click on the empty game object, and I'll just drag the working with classes script, and I'll place that. And what I'm going to do is to simply reset this, and I'll just reset that to my world position, and I'll make sure I have that working with classes. So I'm just going to go ahead and save, and I'll just run that script. And just like that, if we look at our local scale X, we can see that it has translated our game object to 20 units within the world. So we can actually see that position has changed 20 units. So if we actually reset that, our game object is now back to its initial position. So we're actually changing that scale X because we actually said transform dot local scale. So if we go ahead and jump back to our scene and go back to the properties, we actually change our local position. So let's try local position this time around instead of local scale. So we're just going to say transform dot local position, and whenever you see a property, you'll see a spanner symbol, and let's just do that like a engineering wrench symbol, and let's set our local position to 20f. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's just get down here into Unity, and let's also play our scene. So if we actually get back, we can actually see we've moved our game object to this position right here. So that empty game object has been moved from position 0 to position Y because we've told it to move that in our local scale. If we wanted to see that transform position move smoothly with time, we could actually go ahead and multiply that with a time dot delta time. But that's going to make this video too long. But hopefully you've understand what an object is and what a class is within Unity. And please remember, you can always jump to the Unity's documentation and look at a class. You can find a class on anything. So you can have a class on the audio, Unity's audio class. You can actually check that, and we can even check the game object class. So if you click on the game object class, we can actually see a lot of attributes and methods for the Unity's game object class. So right here, we can see the properties and we can see the constructors for our game object. So for a quick review, let's go up here and we type in game object. Let's say our object is going to be equal to a new game object. So we've created a new game object by using the new keyword constructor for the game object. So now that we have that game object within our scene, we can actually do a lot of things to it. For instance, we can use the create primitive, which creates a primitive game object with a mesh renderer. So if we click on that static method and see an example of how we can create that create primitive. In fact, let's just go ahead and see how we can do that. So now that we have our game object with the scene, let's now say our obj dot so what we're going to say right now, let's just do it this way, equals our new game object dot create primitive. And once we have that primitive, we can use a primitive type dot let's create a capsule, just like that, and we'll actually return that. So now we've created that capsule. Let's go ahead and change our game object to be created within a specific position, just like we did here with our local position. So right now what we're going to say is our object dot transform dot position is going to be equal to a new vector tree, and we will just supply in our game object's transform. So first I'm going to provide our first float value, and I'll just convert that or set this value to 2f, and then I'll set this value to a 0f, just like that. So right now what we're going to do is to just click on start, and I'll just go ahead and comment this section out so we don't have our game object kind of like exported somewhere else. And let's just go ahead and save this, and let's get back to Unity and run our script. So if we go back to our scene, you can actually see that we have the capsule, which is actually hiding right here. And we'll just drag that up a little bit. So that's actually our capsule that has been instantiated. Now we noticed that the capsule was kind of like, very deep. So what we need to do in order to change this is to change our position Y. So let's set our position Y to a value of say 4. So let's get back to our script. So let's set that to a value of say 4. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that because I don't want it to be standing like, above this cube. So just like that, we're going to see that we have that game object that has been instantiated within our scene. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next lesson.